We have spent centuries perfecting a system that promises us everything. We believe in a world of infinite growth, where the shelves are always full, the lights never flicker, and the services we rely on are a fundamental right, not a fragile privilege. But what if the engine of that world isn't money or growth or even human genius? What if our entire modern life is just a borrowed moment, held up by an invisible foundation that's starting to crack? You see the cracks every day. You drive to a diner, a place that has been open until midnight for 20 years, and you find a piece of paper taped to the glass, closing at 7 p.m. due to staffing. You try to book a plumber for a leak, and they laugh, telling you they're booked for months. You order a package that used to arrive in 2 days, but now it drifts in a logistical limbo for a week. We look at these as glitches. We blame inflation or supply chains or just bad luck. But what if this isn't a glitch? What if the system is simply running out of the only fuel that actually matters? We are taught that money powers civilization. We assume that if a city has tax revenue, it can fix a bridge. If a hospital has funding, it can treat patients. But money is just a scoreboard. It is not the players. You cannot patch a severed fiber optic cable with a stack of dollar bills. You cannot teach a classroom full of children with a bank transfer. Modern civilization is not a self-sustaining machine powered by capital. It is a heavy, fragile structure that is entirely powered by millions of human beings waking up every single day and doing the work. Every single worker is a load-bearing pillar. Think about the staggering volume of human effort required just to keep your city from collapsing before you even wake up. Right now, someone is balancing the electrical grid second by second so the voltage doesn't fry your home. Someone is driving a freight truck through the night to restock the grocery shelves. Someone is monitoring subterranean water pressure so the pipes don't burst. Every comfort we have is actively carried on the shoulders of someone doing the work. Take away the people and the electricity stops. The food rots, the hospitals go dark. Civilization has a carrying capacity, a limit to how much work it can demand from the people supporting it. Throughout history, whenever we reached our limit, we didn't just give up. We invented tools to carry the load, and every time we kept on building. We built a world of infinite demands on the assumption of an infinite workforce. We built sprawling electrical grids and endless miles of suburban housing because we had a limitless supply of people ready to do the heavy lifting. We even invented retirement, a bold promise that we could afford only because the demographic pyramid was incredibly wide at the bottom. For every one person resting at the top, there were dozens of young, active workers at the bottom carrying the weight. But what happens when an entire civilization is built mathematically on a single assumption, and that assumption turns out to be wrong? The era of the infinitely expanding labor pool is ending. And when the pool of available workers stops growing, the physical weight of society does not magically change. The demand for food, energy, housing, and medical comfort remains exactly the same. But now that crushing weight bears down on fewer shoulders. This is the moment the gears of society lose their lubrication. The machine starts to grind, and it creates a very specific kind of systemic friction. The most dangerous part of a shrinking foundation is that no industry exists in isolation. You cannot just have a shortage of truck drivers and expect the rest of the world to carry on normally. Because every system depends entirely on workers, the failures cascade. We treated sectors like healthcare, food, and energy as separate industries. In reality, they are just different rooms in the same house, competing for the same few hands. When the foundation shrinks, the system doesn't just slow down. It cannibalizes itself. You can't fix a shortage of nurses by ignoring the shortage of farmers. The cascade is silent, and it is total. Why is this happening everywhere all at once? It isn't just one country failing, it's the mathematical inversion of humanity. Fewer people are entering the bottom of the pyramid. More people are living longer at the top. At the exact moment the foundation is shrinking, the weight above it keeps growing. We are transitioning from a society of builders to a society that requires constant maintenance and care. The retirement balcony is now overcrowded, pushing down on the structural layers below. The physical burden is increasing precisely when the foundation is least capable of holding it. If you only look at the math, it feels like doom. But human civilization is not passive. When faced with an existential physical limit, humanity adapts. We are left with only one choice: change the nature of the labor. We are pulling the lever of time, forcing older hands to hold the weight longer. We are pulling the lever of efficiency, cutting the red tape to save every ounce of human effort. And we are pulling the lever of machinery. Not to replace the worker, but to replace the capacity. Technology isn't the hero of this story. It is the prosthetic limb for a civilization losing its strength. The blue robotic pillars slam into the ground, wedging themselves under the sagging city to hold it up alongside the humans. We will need autonomous trucks to move freight when there are no drivers left. We will need AI to handle global logistics simply because there aren't enough human minds left to do the math. The technology transitions from being a luxury of convenience to an absolute structural necessity. It is the only way to balance the equation of a civilization that has outgrown its foundation. When you watch the news, it is so easy to get caught up in arguments about the job market or the economy. But this was never really a story about jobs. The bigger truth: it was a story about the carrying capacity of modern civilization. For centuries, the endless growth of that foundation gave us the beautiful, intoxicating illusion that human progress was effortless. Now that foundation isn't growing. Civilization has never really been limited by money. It has always been limited by people willing and able to do the work. Everything else, the skyscrapers, the stocks, the systems, was built on top of that invisible truth. And that truth is now in short supply. We built a world that promises comfort and rest at the end of a long life. But if a shrinking foundation of workers must carry a heavier, older society than ever before in human history, can retirement survive? The concrete is cracking, the weight is shifting, and the era of effortless growth is over. We are now entering an era of absolute physical necessity. The question isn't just who will do all the work. The question is how much longer we can pretend that we don't have to.